Eli had always liked the quiet moments on the orbital station Delta 9. The hum of the engines, the blinking lights on the control panels, and the endless view of stars outside the big observation windows. It all gave him a sense of calm. He was a young human engineer, dedicated to keeping the station running smoothly. Most of the time, his life was predictable, even boring. But he liked it that way. Predictable meant safe. That was until the shuttle arrived. Eli was sipping his coffee, leaning against a railing overlooking the docking bay, when a sudden announcement blared through the speakers. Unexpected shuttle docking. Identity unverified. All personnel remain alert. Eli's eyebrows shot up. He didn't recognize the shuttle. It wasn't on the station schedule. Usually all visiting ships filed proper reports days before arrival. This one hadn't. Curiosity got the better of him. He grabbed his maintenance badge and headed toward the docking bay. The bay doors hissed open, revealing a small, sleek shuttle, one that looked oddly familiar. Eli squinted. There was a flash of bright green light inside. Then the hatch opened and a figure stepped out. Zira, Eli whispered. The figure, a teenage alien he had met 3 years ago, smiled broadly at him. Her skin was a soft lavender, and her large amber eyes glimmered with intelligence and mischief. She had grown taller since his last encounter, and there was a new confidence in the way she carried herself. "I told you, human," she said with a cheeky grin. "I'm basically an adult now, so stop looking at me like I'm some small kid." Eli laughed nervously. "You were what, 100 human years old then? That doesn't make you an adult in human terms." Zyra waved a hand dismissively. "Humans and their weird ways of counting age, don't worry about it, I am mature. Trust me." Eli could already tell that trusting her would be a mistake. She had a talent for causing chaos, even unintentionally. "Station, security will want to know about your arrival," he said, trying to regain control of the situation. "We need to—" "Don't worry about security," Zira interrupted, stepping forward confidently. "I can handle it. I just came to see you, personally, and maybe have a little fun." Eli groaned inwardly. "Fun? On this station? Zyra, you have no idea what you're walking into." But she ignored him. Her eyes sparkled as she looked around the docking bay. Every piece of machinery, every blinking light, every small robot whirred to life at her presence. She reached out with her fingers, and a maintenance drone floated toward her without a single command. "See?" she said proudly. "I know how to make friends." Eli rubbed his temples. "That's not friendship, you're hijacking the system." She grinned. "Hijacking? No, let's call it interacting. You humans take everything so seriously." Despite his worries, Eli couldn't help but smile. Zira was still the same clever, unpredictable alien he had met years ago, but she seemed different now, more confident, more skilled, and somehow more grown up. "Come on," he said, gesturing toward the station elevator. "Let's get you somewhere safe before security finds out." Zyra bounced along beside him, her steps light, almost floating. "Safe is boring. Boring is human. Let's do something exciting." Eli sighed. "Exciting usually ends in disaster with you." She only laughed, a melodic sound that made him shake his head. When they reached the station lounge, Eli set her down in a quiet corner. "Sit," he instructed, though he wasn't sure she would. She sat cross-legged anyway, eyes bright with curiosity. "I need to know," Eli said cautiously. "Why are you back? Last time you visited, you just wandered around, got into trouble, and left without much explanation." Zyra leaned back, folding her arms behind her head. "I told you then, didn't I? I explore, I learn, and sometimes I just visit friends I like." "Friends?" Eli raised an eyebrow. "You mean you came here because of me?" Zyra's eyes softened slightly. "Of course, human. You're fun. You don't scream when I do something crazy." Eli chuckled. That's not really something to brag about, but he couldn't ignore the feeling of unease that had settled in his chest. There was more to her visit than just friendship. He had a gut feeling that trouble was coming, and with Zyra, trouble was always spectacular. He glanced around the lounge. It was mostly empty except for a few maintenance workers quietly sipping drinks. Nobody seemed to notice Zyra, or maybe they were pretending not to notice her unusual appearance, so Eli said, trying to keep the conversation light. What have you been up to all these years? Learned any new tricks? Zyra tilted her head. Tricks? I'm an adult now, remember? I don't do tricks anymore. Well, maybe small experiments. But adults experiment responsibly. Eli raised an eyebrow. Responsible experiments? Her grin returned, wide and mischievous. Depends on what you call responsible. Sometimes experiments are exciting. He groaned. I can already tell this is going to be a long visit. Zyra leaned forward suddenly. Oh, human, it's going to be fun, you'll see. Before Eli could respond, the lights flickered. A series of alarms blared across the station. Red warning lights flashed, and the hum of the engines grew louder. Eli's stomach dropped. What did you do? He asked sharply. Do? Zyra said, innocently. I haven't done anything yet. Eli's eyes narrowed. He knew her well enough to know that her yet was the most dangerous word he could hear. He ran toward the control panel, Zyra following, bouncing along like nothing was wrong. The system readouts were confusing. Machines were going haywire, doors opening and closing at random, and the station's internal communications were scrambled. Eli tried to regain control, but the system seemed to respond to Zyra's presence more than his commands. I told you, Zyra said with a shrug. Everything is connected. I just talk to it. Eli rubbed his face. You didn't just talk to it, you're controlling it. Zyra tilted her head, looking innocent. Controlling? No, I'm just making it listen. Eli groaned. I should have known. This is exactly why I warned the engineers about your return. Zyra laughed, a sound that echoed through the chaos. Come on, human, admit it, you missed me. Eli couldn't help but smile, despite the alarms blaring and the flashing lights. Maybe I did. A little. But this is too much. The lounge doors hissed open, and a station security officer stepped in, looking alarmed. What's going on here? Systems are malfunctioning everywhere. Who's responsible? Eli gestured helplessly at Zyra. That, is not exactly easy to explain. Zyra stood up and bowed dramatically. I take full responsibility as a friendly visitor. I come in peace. The security officer stared at her, clearly not understanding. You're an alien? Zyra nodded. Yes. And I'm an adult now. Very adult. The officer's eyes widened, then he quickly retreated, muttering into his communicator. Eli shook his head. See what I mean? He said, turning to Zyra. Trouble already. Zyra grinned mischievously. Oh, human. This is just the beginning. Wait until you see what I've learned since last time. Eli groaned. He had a feeling that the next few days, or hours, were going to be anything but calm. And with Zyra around, calm wasn't even an option. Outside the observation windows, the stars continued to twinkle. The station hummed with life. But Eli knew one thing for sure. Life would never be boring again. Eli barely had time to breathe after the chaos in the lounge. Systems on the station were flickering on and off, alarms blaring intermittently, and maintenance drones were floating in every direction, confused and out of control. He had never seen anything like this, and he had worked on the station for years. Zyra, meanwhile, looked completely at ease. She bounced from one control panel to another, her amber eyes shining with curiosity. Oh, look at this one, she exclaimed, pointing at a holographic display showing the station's internal communications. I wonder what this does. Eli grabbed her hand before she could touch it. Zyra, don't! She turned, smiling. Relax, human, I know what I'm doing. You don't, Eli shouted, frantically typing on the nearest console to stabilize the systems. The screens flickered, then brightened again. For a moment, it seemed like he might actually succeed in regaining control, until a maintenance bot whirred past and collided with a supply crate, sending tools flying across the floor. Zyra clapped her hands. Fun. Did you see that? It's like a little show. Eli groaned, ducking to avoid a spinning wrench. Fun for you, maybe. This is serious. If the systems go down completely, the whole station could be in danger. She tilted her head, pretending to think. Danger? That sounds exciting. Humans are always so cautious. Eli took a deep breath. I need you to calm down. Just sit still for 5 minutes, please. Zyra pretended to pout. 5 minutes? That's forever. I could grow a whole, alien plant in that time. Eli rolled his eyes. That's not funny. Before he could stop her, Zyra waved, her hands over a console. The floating maintenance drones immediately responded to her subtle gestures, moving as if they had a mind of their own. Tools and small equipment began floating in perfect arcs around her. She laughed as they twirled, the scene looking like a choreographed dance of machinery. Eli ran over and yanked her hands down. Zyra, stop! You're not supposed to do that! Zyra grinned. Oh, I'm just showing you a trick I learned. Adults can do amazing things, you know. Eli rubbed his temples. Adults don't cause chaos everywhere they go. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed down the corridor. Station security was arriving, alerted by the alarms. Eli's stomach sank. If they saw Zyra in action, they might not understand that she was a visitor, or worse, they might consider her a threat. Zyra seemed to sense his worry. Don't worry, human. I can handle security. Eli didn't feel reassured. You say that, but last time you caused half the station to lock down for hours. Exactly. But that was before. I've grown. I'm an adult now, Zyra said proudly, puffing out her chest. Just then, the security team arrived. 2 tall officers clad in sleek armor stood at the entrance of the lounge, scanning the room with suspicion. What's going on here? One demanded. His voice was firm, but not unkind. Eli stepped forward, hoping to explain. Officer, it's a misunderstanding. This is Zyra. She's a visitor, a friend. She didn't mean any harm. The officer raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced. An alien visitor? On this station? And you allowed her to interact with the systems? Zyra stepped forward, bowing slightly. Hello, humans. I assure you, I am here with peaceful intentions. I am... Eli groaned, cutting her off. She's not dangerous. Really, just unusual. The officer's eyes narrowed. Unusual is one thing. Systems malfunctioning is another. We need to ensure safety. Zyra waved a hand casually. Instantly, one of the drones zipped over and neatly placed the floating tools back in the supply crate. See? All safe now, I promise. Eli blinked. Safe? You just fixed it magically. That's not normal. Zyra grinned. Normal is boring, human. You wouldn't understand. The officer frowned, clearly confused. Eli could feel his frustration rising. How could he explain that she had alien abilities that didn't fit human logic? Listen, Eli said, trying to be firm. Zyra is special. She has abilities. But she's my friend. She means no harm. Please don't arrest her or restrict her yet. The officer hesitated, then nodded slowly. I'll give you this chance, human, but any further malfunctions and we take full control, understand? Yes, officer, Eli said, relief flooding him. As soon as the security officers left, Zyra turned to him, her grin mischievous. That was fun. Humans are so serious about everything. I love it. Eli groaned. You call that fun? That was terrifying. Zyra bounced in place. Terrifying for you, maybe. Exciting for me. For the next few hours, Eli tried desperately to keep Zyra occupied and out of trouble. He showed her the observation decks, the small library, and even the hydroponic garden. But wherever she went, things seemed to happen. Lights flickered, small machines started moving on their own, and even a communications terminal briefly displayed strange symbols she had never seen before. Zyra! Eli snapped, catching her before she could touch another panel. Stop! You're not supposed to— Human, Zyra said, holding up her hands in mock defense. I'm basically an adult now. Adults experiment, you should let me learn. Eli rubbed his forehead. Learning doesn't involve nearly shutting down the station. By the afternoon, Eli realized that Zyra's return wasn't just a visit. It was a test. Everything she did seemed intentional, as if she were studying the humans around her. Even her playful accidents had purpose. She observed how he reacted, how security responded, and how the station systems adapted. Are you spying on me? Eli asked cautiously. Zyra tilted her head. Spying? No, observing. Humans are fascinating. You always think you're clever, but you have so many limits. I want to see what you can do. Eli frowned. Limits? That's not a compliment. She laughed. It is, if you think about it the right way. Limits mean there's room for improvement, and humans— Oh, you're so good at finding clever ways to solve problems? Eli's chest swelled a little at her words, but he tried not to show it. You're trouble, you know. That? And you love it, she teased, bouncing around the lounge. Later, Eli tried to sit down and plan how to handle the rest of her visit. But Zira wasn't done. She had discovered the station's small AI lab and decided it was time to test a few experiments. Eli followed her, heart racing. Inside the lab, Zira touched a holographic panel. Lights blinked, and a small robotic assistant floated to her side. She whispered something in her alien language, and the robot immediately began performing tasks it had never been programmed for. Eli watched in disbelief. Zira, stop! He shouted. You don't know what you're doing. She turned, eyes wide with excitement. But I do. Humans think too slowly. I can help. Eli tried to override the controls, but the system was now partially responding to Zira. She had a subtle ability to interface with technology that Eli had never seen before. It was fascinating and terrifying. Just then, an alarm rang. The system had detected unauthorized access. Eli's stomach dropped. If station authorities found her here, they would definitely consider her a threat. Zira, he hissed. We need to leave. Now, she pouted dramatically. But I was having so much fun. Learning is fun, human. Eli grabbed her hand. Fun ends when alarms go off. Come on. They ran down the corridor, weaving between startled staff and flashing lights. Eli could hear the distant sound of security officers mobilizing. Zira was laughing, bouncing along as if this were a game. Finally, they ducked into a maintenance tunnel, hidden from the main corridor. Eli leaned against the wall, catching his breath. Zira sat beside him, still grinning. You humans are so serious, she said softly. But you're good. Clever. Brave. I like that. Eli shook his head. You keep saying that, but all you've done today is nearly destroy the station. Zira tilted her head. Nearly, that's the key word. Almost always leaves room for improvement. Eli laughed despite himself. I don't know whether to be proud or terrified. Zira leaned back, looking up at the small ventilation ducts above. Both. That's how it should be. Eli sighed. He knew this was only the beginning. With Zira on the station, calm was impossible. Trouble would follow her everywhere. But somehow, despite the chaos, he couldn't help but feel excited. She was back, and things would never be the same again. The next morning, the orbital station Delta 9 buzzed with activity. Maintenance crews were busy repairing the minor damage caused by Zira's experiments the day before. Lights that had flickered now glowed steadily, and floating drones had returned to their programmed routines. Eli moved through the corridors with a mix of relief and unease. He had barely slept, his mind running over everything that had happened. Zira, of course, was completely unaffected. She floated near the observation deck, her amber eyes scanning the stars with curiosity. Good morning, human, she called cheerfully. Ready for another exciting day? Eli pinched the bridge of his nose. Exciting? After yesterday, I don't think I can handle anything more exciting for at least a week. Zira giggled. Weak? Humans are so slow. Come on, let's explore. There's so much you don't understand yet. Eli sighed, knowing there was no reasoning with her. Fine, but no more messing with the systems, understand? Mostly, Zira said innocently, though her mischievous grin betrayed her. As they walked toward the lounge, Eli noticed she seemed more focused than usual. There was a calm determination in her movements, as if she had a purpose beyond fun. He decided to ask, Zira, why are you really here? He said carefully. I mean, you say it's just to see me, but I have a feeling there's more to it. She paused, looking at him with her large, thoughtful eyes. For the first time, since she arrived, her playful demeanor softened. You're right, she said quietly. I wasn't completely honest yesterday. Eli frowned. What do you mean? I came back for a reason, she admitted. Something important. Something Bigger than just visiting a friend. Eli's heart sank slightly. Bigger than visiting a friend usually meant trouble. Go on, he said cautiously. Zira took a deep breath. My people, we are explorers, scouts, and I was sent back to observe humans, to see if your species could be trusted in future matters. Eli blinked. Trusted? Trusted for what? She looked at him seriously. For alliances, cooperation, protection. We are watching the galaxy, human. We need to know who can be trusted, who is clever, who is brave, and humans are one of the few species that might have potential. Eli's mind spun. So, you're spying on us? Not spying, Zira said, shaking her head. Observing, learning. Humans are fascinating. You think slowly sometimes, but you solve problems in ways that are clever, creative, brave. I wanted to see that up close. Eli frowned. And all the chaos yesterday. Was that part of the test? Zira smiled sheepishly. Mostly. But I promise I didn't mean to scare anyone. I just wanted to see how you'd handle it. Humans face problems with so much determination. It's impressive. Eli rubbed his forehead. Impressive? You nearly caused a full station lockdown. She laughed softly. Yes, but look at how you solved it. That's what matters. Human ingenuity. Eli couldn't help but feel a strange mix of pride and worry. Pride because she admired humans' abilities, worry because her admiration came with unpredictable consequences. Wait, Eli said, pacing. If you're here to observe humans, does that mean there's more than just me? Are you judging other humans too? Of course, she said, but you are special to me. You face challenges in ways most humans wouldn't. That's why I came back here first. Eli paused. So, what happens if I fail this observation? Zira tilted her head. Fail? Humans don't fail. You just learn. And I'm not here to punish. I'm here to see, to understand, to make decisions for the greater future. Eli's stomach tightened. The greater future? Yes, Zira said, her voice steady. Our species needs allies. If humans can show courage, intelligence, creativity, maybe we can work together someday. The weight of her words sank in. This wasn't just a visit anymore. Zira's return had a mission, and that mission could affect the whole human species. Eli swallowed hard. You mean the future of humans could depend on how I behave? Zira shrugged slightly, as if it were no big deal. Not just you, but you're a good example. Humans are unpredictable, but you have potential. Eli shook his head in disbelief. Potential? I just fix things on a space station. I'm not some hero or diplomat or anything like that. Zira's eyes sparkled. Sometimes heroes come in unexpected forms. Sometimes the smallest actions make the biggest difference. Before Eli could respond, a sudden commotion echoed from the main corridor. He turned sharply. Security, a voice shouted. Unauthorized alien presence detected. In restricted areas. Eli's heart sank. Zira had been so focused on explaining her mission that she had wandered again. He ran toward the sound, Zira floating effortlessly behind him. In the corridor, a group of security officers had cornered her. Zira raised her hands in greeting. Hello, humans. It's just me visiting a friend. One officer stepped forward. You're in a restricted area. Step back immediately. Zira tilted her head. Restricted? What's restricted? Isn't everything here for learning? Eli ran forward. She's with me. Please don't hurt her. She's not dangerous, the officer frowned. We can't allow unauthorized aliens in sensitive areas. If she doesn't comply. Zira's amber eyes glowed softly, and the officer froze for a moment, his expression puzzled. Eli realized she was using her subtle abilities again, just enough to confuse and calm the humans around her. She's fine, Eli said firmly. Please just let us handle this. After a tense moment, the officer backed away, muttering into a communicator. Eli turned to Zira, exasperated. You can't keep doing that. People will start thinking you're, I don't even know what, Zira shrugged. They'll understand eventually. Humans are clever, they adapt. Eli rubbed his temples. Clever doesn't mean patient. and station authorities aren't going to like this. Zyra floated closer to him. You worry too much, human. Trust me, I have everything under control. Eli didn't feel reassured. He had learned long ago that under control in Zyra's language meant unpredictable chaos. As they walked back toward the observation deck, Zyra's expression softened. Eli, I wanted you to know why I'm really here. I trust you and I wanted you to understand. My mission, it's bigger than fun or chaos. It's about the future. Eli nodded. Slowly. I understand, I think. Good, she said, smiling. Now, don't worry so much. There's time to fix problems and there's always time for adventure. Eli glanced at her, marveling at her confidence. Adventure? With you, it always comes with trouble. Zyra laughed, her voice light and melodic. Exactly, and that's why it's fun. Despite the chaos and the alarms and the near disasters, Eli felt a strange sense of hope. Zyra had returned not just for fun or curiosity. She was here to judge, to understand, and perhaps to bring humans into a greater galactic purpose. And if anyone could navigate that, Eli thought, it would be the humans. But first, he would need to survive Zyra's unpredictable adventures. Outside the station, the stars continued to sparkle, oblivious to the tiny drama unfolding inside. Eli watched them, taking a deep breath. He had a feeling that the next days would be even more challenging. Zyra's mission wasn't just observation, it was a test, and humans were about to prove themselves in ways they hadn't imagined. Eli turned back to her. All right, Zyra, I'm listening, but you have to promise no more surprises today. Zyra grinned. No promises, human, but I will try. Eli sighed, knowing full well that try in Zyra language was equivalent to do exactly what I want. He couldn't help but smile. Somehow he liked that about her. The adventure and the real test was only beginning. The orbital station Delta 9 had never been quieter. The usual hum of engines and soft chatter of staff were overshadowed by a tense, uneasy atmosphere. Eli knew why. Zyra had wandered into the station's restricted research wing while he was distracted explaining her mission. The rogue faction of the station, officers who didn't trust aliens, had noticed her presence and were closing in. Eli's heart raced. He glanced around the maintenance corridor where he and Zyra had hidden, trying to formulate a plan. Eli, Zyra whispered, her amber eyes bright with curiosity. What are those humans doing? They're coming to capture you. Eli said, lowering his voice. We need to move, now. Zyra tilted her head, eyes wide. Capture? But I haven't done anything wrong. Eli groaned. Not exactly. But to them, your abilities look dangerous. We need a way out before they corner us. Zyra floated lightly beside him, her hands brushing against panels on the walls. Lights flickered subtly in response to her presence. Eli tried not to panic. He knew Zyra could handle herself, but relying on her abilities would make the situation even more unpredictable. We have to use human ingenuity, Eli said firmly. No shortcuts, we can't just rely on magic tricks. Zyra grinned. Human ingenuity? I like the sound of that. Lead the way, human. Eli quickly scanned the map of the station on his portable device. He found a network of maintenance, tunnels that could take them past the main corridors where the rogue officers were stationed. Follow me, he said. Stay close and don't touch anything unless I tell you. Zyra bounced lightly, floating beside him. I can't promise nothing. I like touching things. Eli sighed. Just try. The tunnels were narrow, dimly lit, and smelled faintly of machinery oil. As they moved, Eli explained the plan. They would use a combination of human problem-solving and improvised technology to distract the officers long enough to reach the observation deck, where an emergency escape pod could be used to leave the station. Zyra's eyes sparkled. This is like a game. I love games. Eli tried not to think about the danger. This isn't a game, Zyra. Focus. They reached a junction in the tunnels where the officers' patrols were closest. Eli pulled out a small toolkit from his backpack. He started working on a panel, connecting wires and rerouting energy from one circuit to another. What are you doing? Zyra asked, peering over his shoulder. I'm creating a distraction, Eli said. When the alarm triggers in the next sector, it will draw them away from our path. Quick thinking, human style. Zira clapped her hands excitedly. Clever. Humans are clever indeed. Eli finished the setup and pressed a button. A series of alarms began blaring in a different section of the station, lights flashing and machinery moving unpredictably. From the tunnel, they could hear the officers rushing toward the chaos, leaving the path ahead clear. Go, Eli said. They sprinted down the tunnel, weaving around pipes and crates. Zira floated beside him, her laughter echoing lightly, even in the tense atmosphere. Eli had to admit her presence made the danger feel almost exhilarating. As they neared the observation deck, another obstacle appeared. A heavy security door blocked their path. Eli examined the control panel. It required a keycard and he didn't have one. Looks like we need a plan B, he muttered. Zira floated closer. Plan B? Humans have so many plans, what's yours? Eli scanned the maintenance tools he had brought. He grabbed a small welding device and aimed it at the door's locking mechanism. Sparks flew as he carefully bypassed the electronic lock. The door hissed open, revealing the observation deck beyond. Nice work, human, Zira said with genuine admiration. Your hands are clever. Eli felt a small surge of pride. Thanks. Now hurry before someone notices the door opening. They ran across the observation deck. Through the large windows, the stars sparkled like diamonds against the blackness of space. Eli led Zira to a small emergency escape pod docked at the edge of the platform. It was designed for one person, but they could make it work. As they approached, an alarm suddenly blared behind them. Eli turned to see a group of rogue officers entering the deck, their weapons drawn. Eli, Zira exclaimed. What do we do now? Eli's mind raced. They couldn't fight them. They were outnumbered and outgunned. But humans had something the officers didn't: quick thinking and creativity. He noticed a row of small magnetic clamps along the floor, normally used for maintenance drones. He grabbed two and activated them, sending them spinning toward the officers. The magnets clamped onto their boots, causing them to stumble and fall in surprise. Run! Eli shouted. Zira laughed as she floated behind him, dodging the stumbling officers. They jumped into the escape pod, and Eli quickly sealed the hatch. He activated the controls, and the pod detached from the station, moving swiftly into open space. Breathing heavily, Eli glanced at Zira. That was close. Zira grinned, her amber eyes shining. Yes, close is exciting. Humans are so brave. Eli shook his head. Brave, maybe, but we can't just keep doing this. One day someone won't be so forgiving. Zira floated closer, her expression softening. Eli, I wanted to see humans in action. Your courage, your ingenuity, it's amazing. You didn't give up. You found solutions. You adapted. Eli felt a warmth in his chest. Thanks, Zira. That means a lot. She smiled. It should. Humans have potential. Don't ever forget that. As they drifted away from the station, Eli glanced at the stars. The galaxy was vast and full of unknown dangers. But he realized something important. Humans had something special. Even when faced with threats far beyond their understanding, they could think, create, and survive. That was what made them valuable, and why Zira's species might trust them one day. Zira floated quietly beside him. Human, do you know what I learned today? Eli shook his head. I can guess it involves chaos and trouble. She giggled. Partly, but mostly, I learned that humans are clever in ways I didn't expect. You take challenges and make solutions with your mind, your hands, and your courage. That's something rare. Eli smiled faintly. We do our best. And it's enough. Zira said softly. It's more than enough. They spent the rest of the journey in silence, drifting through space, the escape pod moving swiftly toward a safe asteroid base where they could rest. Eli couldn't stop thinking about what Zira had said. Humans might be small in the galaxy, but their creativity, bravery, and adaptability could make a difference. For the first time, Eli felt a sense of pride that went beyond personal accomplishment. Humans had survived countless dangers, solved problems no one thought possible, and now, even an alien scout recognized their worth. Zira floated over to him, her expression bright. Human, when we get to the base, I want to continue observing. There's so much I still want to see. You and your people, you are fascinating. Eli laughed softly. I have a feeling you'll never be bored with humans. Never, Zyra said confidently. And I hope humans never stop proving themselves. You're stronger than you think. The escape pod glided toward the asteroid base, the stars streaking past in the vast darkness. Eli leaned back in his seat, exhausted, but exhilarated. The day had been filled with chaos, danger, and unexpected challenges, but humans had prevailed, not because of superpowers or alien technology, but because of their ingenuity, courage, and determination. Zyra's presence had tested him in ways he had never imagined, but it had also shown him something he had always known deep down. Humans had something special, something worth fighting for, something that could shine even in the darkest corners of the galaxy. As the asteroid base came into view, Eli realized that the adventure was far from over. Zyra's mission was only beginning, and humans would need to continue proving themselves. But for now, for this moment, he allowed himself a small smile. They had survived. They had succeeded, and human ingenuity had shone brighter than any star. Zyra floated beside him, her eyes glimmering with excitement. Next, we explore the base. I have a feeling there will be more challenges and more chances for humans to show their brilliance. Eli shook his head with a smile. I'm sure you're right. Let's hope my ingenuity holds up. She laughed, her voice soft and musical. It will, human. It always does. Humans are clever, brave, unstoppable. Eli glanced at her, feeling a mixture of pride, worry, and admiration. He knew that with Zyra around, nothing would ever be ordinary. But he also knew one thing. Humans could rise to any challenge. And in the galaxy full of unknowns, that might just be enough. Outside the pod, the stars stretched endlessly. Inside, two unlikely friends prepared for the next part of their journey, ready to face whatever came next. The asteroid base was quiet when Eli and Zyra arrived, a small outpost nestled in the shadow of a larger mining station. Its surface was rocky and gray, with small docking ports and domed structures scattered across the terrain. The escape pod touched down gently and Eli released a long breath. Finally, he said, stretching his arms, somewhere we can rest without alarms going off. Zyra floated beside him, bouncing lightly as if she had never been tired. Resting is boring. Humans like resting too much. Let's explore, Eli groaned. I'm not sure I agree, but fine. A quick look won't hurt. They exited the pod and entered the base. Inside, the corridors were narrow but functional. A few maintenance robots floated along, busy with repairs and cleaning. The base seemed calm, almost peaceful, at least compared to the chaos of Delta 9. Eli led Zyra to a small observation room. Through reinforced glass, they could see the stars stretching endlessly into the distance. Zyra's amber eyes sparkled as she studied the view. This is beautiful, she said softly. Humans have a way of making even small places feel alive. Eli smiled faintly. It's quiet, safe, and calm. Something we could all use more often. They spent some time in silence, each reflecting on the recent events. Eli thought about the chaos at Delta 9, the rogue officers, and Zyra's unpredictable powers. Despite the stress and danger, he realized something important. Humans had risen to every challenge. Their courage, quick thinking, and adaptability had been enough to survive. Zyra floated closer. Eli, do you know why I came back? Eli nodded, slowly. Yes, to see if humans could be trusted, to observe, and to test us in your own unique way. She smiled. Exactly. But more than that, I wanted to see you. I wanted to understand how humans, your species, approach challenges. And now I know. Eli raised an eyebrow. And, Zyra said softly, you are clever, brave, and resourceful. You think with your mind, your hands, and your heart. That is rare. That is why humans have potential in the galaxy. Eli felt a warmth in his chest. Thanks. That means a lot, Zyra. Really. Zyra tilted her head. And it's not just you, human. Your species, humans, have survived countless dangers. You've solved problems that others would have given Up on. You've created things no one thought possible. That is why you are special. Eli smiled faintly. We do our best. And that is enough, Zyra said. More than enough. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert. The base's monitoring system had detected unusual activity outside, a small fleet of unknown ships approaching. Eli felt his chest tighten. Trouble seemed to follow Zyra wherever she went. Zyra noticed his expression. Relax, human. We can handle this. We always find a way. Eli shook his head, half in disbelief, half in admiration. You make it sound so easy. Zyra grinned. Because humans are clever. You just don't always see it yourself. They hurried to the control room where Eli accessed the base's systems. The approaching ships were unidentified, but they didn't seem immediately hostile. Still, caution was necessary. Zyra, I need your help, Eli said. You can sense things humans can't. Can you tell me if these ships are dangerous? Zyra closed her eyes, floating slightly above the floor. After a moment, her amber eyes opened. They are cautious, curious, not hostile yet. Humans will need to be clever to communicate with them. But I believe you can do it. Eli nodded. All right. Let's see what we can figure out. He activated the base's communications array, sending a simple message to the incoming ships. Moments later, a response appeared. Short, cautious, but not aggressive. Eli felt a surge of relief. See? Zyra said, bouncing lightly. Humans can do amazing things when they work together, even with aliens. Eli smiled faintly. We've come a long way, haven't we? Zyra nodded. Yes. And there is more to learn, more to explore, more ways to show that humans are brave and clever. For the next several hours, Eli and Zyra worked together. They monitored the approaching ships, decoded their signals, and carefully navigated the situation without triggering any alarms. Every step relied on human ingenuity, problem-solving, and adaptability, qualities Zyra admired deeply. As the situation stabilized, Eli realized something important. Humans had something unique in the galaxy. They might not be the strongest, the fastest, or the most advanced, but they had creativity, courage, and determination. That combination made them valuable allies and survivors in any situation. Zyra floated closer to him. Eli, I want to thank you. You didn't just survive the challenges on Delta 9, you solved them. You adapted. You led. That is why humans can be trusted. That is why your species has potential. Eli smiled faintly. I just did what I had to do. No, Zyra said firmly. You did more than that. You proved something important. Humans are clever, resourceful, and brave. That is more than enough in any galaxy. Eli laughed softly. You make it sound like a story, Zyra. It is a story, she said. A story of humans, and I'm glad I got to witness it. The asteroid base grew quiet once more. The stars outside glimmered softly, and for a moment the galaxy seemed calm and peaceful. Eli leaned against the control panel, reflecting on everything that had happened. Zyra floated beside him, her expression gentle. Eli, I'm glad I came back. Not just for the mission, but for you. You taught me that humans are capable of amazing things, and you showed me bravery, intelligence, and heart. Eli smiled faintly. And you taught me that even the smallest actions can have a big impact, that humans can rise to challenges we never imagined. Zyra nodded. Exactly. And I hope you never forget it. As the two friends looked out at the stars, Eli realized that Zyra's mission had not just been about observing humans. It had been about building trust, understanding, and bonds that could span the galaxy. And he was proud to have been part of that journey. For the first time since her arrival, Eli felt truly at peace. They had survived chaos, danger, and uncertainty. They had relied on human ingenuity, courage, and determination, and they had succeeded. Zyra floated closer, her amber eyes bright. Eli, promise me something? Anything, he said. Promise me that humans will always keep learning, keep growing, and keep proving themselves. That even when things seem impossible, you will find a way. That is why the galaxy will need you. Eli nodded slowly. I promise. She smiled, satisfied. Good. And remember, human, I may leave for a while, but I will always remember what I've learned here, and I will always value you as a friend. Eli chuckled. You're trouble, you know that? And you like it, Zira said, her voice playful. Eli shook his head with a smile. Maybe I do. They spent the rest of the day exploring the base, checking systems, and learning from each other. Zira's curiosity and energy never waned, but Eli had learned to guide her, balance her enthusiasm with human ingenuity, and channel her abilities safely. Together, they made a remarkable team. As night fell on the asteroid base, Eli looked up at the stars. He thought about the chaos at Delta 9, the dangers they had faced, and the lessons they had learned. Humans were small in the vast galaxy, but they had something special, something that made them strong, clever, and brave. Something that could survive any challenge. Zira floated beside him, watching the stars in quiet reflection. Eli, thank you for everything. He smiled. No, thank you. For showing me that humans can shine, even when the odds are against us. For a moment, the galaxy seemed still. Stars twinkled softly, and the asteroid base rested peacefully among them. Eli knew this was just one small chapter in a much larger story. Humans had a place in the galaxy, and with courage, intelligence, and heart, they could face whatever came next. Zira turned to him with a playful grin. So, human, ready for the next adventure? Eli laughed softly. With you around? I suppose I'd better be. And with that, the two friends looked out at the stars, ready to face the future together. The galaxy was full of unknowns, challenges, and wonders, but humans, Eli knew, could rise to meet them. And maybe, just maybe, they could shine brighter than any star.